What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. We honestly have a lot to talk about today. I was just speaking to Paradise pre-show, and he was telling me that he's taken 3 new trade setups. So we want to go through those 3 trades. We also need to talk about the market because obviously Ethereum is pumping, heading into its 2021 all-time high. Bitcoin actually has an interesting setup as well. And then, of course, there are many catch-up plays, many altcoin plays in the market which are starting to break out, or at least starting to present setups. And I do have a setup today that we're going to run through that I've been eyeing for many weeks, to be honest. And now it's finally starting to trigger today. So it's going to be a very alpha-packed show. Paradise, welcome back to the channel.
Hey, Mars. Thank you. Been away on a little getaway for the past few days, so it's good to get back in tune with it.
Yeah, I heard you had some issues with your travel. So yeah, it's good to be back behind the charts considering what's happening right now.
Indeed. Yeah, I had a nice 11-hour day. It was meant to be a 4-hour day worth of travel because of tropical storms, so it's always fun.
What are you seeing on Bitcoin? Let's start here because we have a lot to get into. We'll get into ETH, we'll get into betas, we'll get into trade setups. But first, let's start with the king. I mean, you could argue ETH's the king right now, but let's start with the formal king, Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think ETH BTC chart will tell you it is the king at the moment. But I think BTC looks interesting here. It swept the all-time high on the spot pair on Binance yesterday, or the day before, sorry. And obviously puked back down into the value area. So it's now trading back under the value area high, but it's sort of doing this compression between the H4 noodle and the VAH here. So I took a long this morning just based on lower time frame. We saw a sweep. So there's a little SFP here, which tagged the 4-hour noodle. So I took a position on that. But, I just want to see this breakout above this value area. And I think we can start attacking into this again. If it rolls over here and it fails to get above this level, I'm looking for this daily FVG down here to get filled. It's around the POC of the range, so it makes sense. Come down here and give that a nice retest. It's like the high volume node on the VRVP, obviously, because where the POC is. So if we reject here, I'm looking for that. But like you look at this current candle forming on the daily, it's extremely bullish, this hammer candle. So looking for a push up in it. And yeah, basically 2 scenarios there. Pull back long into this or just look for a move above. We start accepting above the value area high. You can also see this is like a very simple resistance level here. We start getting above that, then I think we find acceptance above it. We can maybe attack that high again. It didn't sweep all-time high in a bunch of exchanges, so maybe we push up and we can start a new leg, maybe up to 125K or something. Just sort of taking it day by day at the moment.
You know what's funny? Last stream we talked about Follis's setup, and it was basically like covering the fractal, and it actually ended up literally exactly to a T playing out. So if you actually look at the descending channel, you can see just like in line with your charts as well, we've had a bit of a breakout. So we've printed a few obviously we had that really nasty daily candle, which I think scared a lot of people. But the good news is we had a good response to that, grabbing some more liquidity. And then if you want to go down to the, H4 on my chart as well, you could see that we flipped the noodle. And since the 6th of August, we've been above it. We're now getting a slight tap of the top side. And structurally, this looks pretty good to me. Although I'm wary of the fact that you just pointed out, we still do have resistance essentially. 123 for Bitcoin was the high. You have poor highs at 122. So that really needs to be taken out, in my opinion, for Bitcoin to run. And I guess the thing is, as we'll discuss, Ethereum's just so hot right now. Does Bitcoin have the strength to run in the short term when ETH's sucking up so much liquidity?
Yeah, I mean, the weekly chart thing I've been discussing on stream with you a few times and a lot in the group. It's just this, I guess you'd call it a fractal playing out each time. It's just the weekly FVGs that have an SFP into them. And that pretty much marks a low. And that's where you see the peak despair across the timeline. Everyone's like it's over. But then the weekly closes and that's the start of a new leg. But, we've had it, this is the 5th time now. We had the sweep of it here, and then we started marking up. And it's just, we're looking for that close on the weekly above all-time high here at 123K or something. So if we get a weekly close above that level, in a few days, that pretty much will signal to me that we're going to trade up higher. But there's nothing to stop us just chopping in a range here for a while. That would obviously churn a lot more people out than you would think, as it has done in the past. People get impatient, people start capitulating. But I think where it is now, it looks quite good. And yeah, every time I'm zooming into low time frame and trying to sort of overanalyze things, I zoom back out to the weekly. Actually, I had a little sticky note on my desk just to remind me to keep looking at the weekly chart. This has played out so many times. We just need to assume it will keep playing out until it doesn't. It's a whole long until you're wrong, effectively. But yeah, the weekly chart, exceptionally good. Just the SFP, the sweep of the lows into the FEG every time. 5 for 5 now, so let's see if this can carry on.
You know what else looks very strong on the weekly and the 3-day chart? Gold right now. I know they're not exactly correlated, Bitcoin and gold. Sometimes they oscillate, but gold actually looks very good. Like this, if you're a noodle fan, it's been following since February 2024. So that's been the level to bid. And then we're starting to see compression. This is one of your favorite setups, Paradise, where you have like compression into a major like resistance zone. This being on the high time frame, and then you also have like the noodle starting to creep up. So I think gold actually, there's a very good setup here for a breakout to the upside. And I've been adding to my position. I know not everyone on the channel is interested in TradFi, but yeah, thought I'd put it out there because this looks very interesting right now.
Yeah, that looks really good. If that can bracket a bit longer for the noodle to catch up and really squeeze between it, you should see a very volatile move out of it. Generally, you get those compressions into resistance or horizontal resistance or diagonal resistance. I actually prefer horizontal, has a bit more follow through generally. Such good setups. I took one this morning similar on Aptos on the H1 that was doing that same setup. But in bull markets, it just, it's just sort of, you can long into resistance and it pays out more times than it doesn't.
We'll talk about Aptos because I think there's a very big trade there. But before we get into that trade, let's talk about Ethereum because this is clearly the king right now.
Yeah, so it's such a simple one, right? Just this weekly level, this 4K level. We were talking about it for ages. It rejected off it. You can see its rejection here. Obviously, people are like, that's it. It's just doing its thing and just ruining lives again. But, it broke above it, clean acceptance above. I just find right now, like if you went long from lower, it's not probably, I know a lot of people are FOMOing into it up here, but like, I think it's like a 5% move into all-time high from this point. Yeah, give or take. So I just don't think the RR is there at the moment. Maybe if we get some sort of pullback for like an intraday swing or an inch-week swing, sorry. I really like this H4 FEG down here. It's where the consolidation high is as well that we broke out of. If I get the noodle back. And as if this chops a bit and starts to come down, I think the noodle will carry into that zone and we might get a nice retest of it. But I think, chasing stuff right here, because I get a few questions in the groups, like, is this the right time to long Ethereum? Probably not right here, because just too close to all-time high. We can definitely expect some sort of resistance there. I think we can clip it and get above, no worries. But, in terms of do we pump a bit more and then get the pullback, I'd probably rather miss that 5% and then wait for a proper pullback to load up. If I was looking to take a position on it. But, that daily noodle retest, we deviated under it a bit, gave it a really clean reclaim here. Let me put the demonstration mode on. Really clean reclaim of this and then just pushed. And there's nice consolidation over the past few days. You can see, just sideways, nice range formed. Didn't really get a sweep of the low, but I was actually looking for a position on this yesterday, but it broke out to the upside. I was looking for all these equal lows to get swept into the noodle. And that would have been a long scenario, which I would have taken its all-time high. But that just pumped straight out. So now I'm sort of looking for this pullback into here around like 4,400, give or take. I think that can make a nice swing just to that level.
Yeah, I agree. I'd be waiting for pullbacks on Ethereum because the thing is, if you're buying spot now, you're buying into, as you pointed out, like a major resistance level. Now, obviously, if that breaks, that's going to be extremely fun. And I do think eventually it breaks. I've discussed that over the past few days. But just because we think it's going to go higher doesn't make now the optimal time to take a setup. I mean, spot's probably a bit less risky than leverage. I certainly wouldn't be aping into ETH leverage right now. I'm interested to know though, Paradise, if you wouldn't long Ethereum now, would you look at longing some of the ETH betas? Like, how are they shaping up in your opinion? Obviously, ENA has been the leader, but it's run quite hard. Is there other stuff that you're seeing on the beta front that is more compelling to you than Ethereum right now?
There are some nice setups, but like, I don't know if ETH betas are kind of dragged behind the whole way up. ENA is an obvious outlier there, and that's the position I have. But in terms of new ones, like you look at PEPE and stuff, they're having a bit of a move, but they're not really having any, near the move that ETH has had. So it was the obvious play there. Whether or not we trickle down into those and like them to have some really like sort of face melting pumps remains to be seen. ENA obviously led the way. So, that's the one we'd be looking at for pullbacks because it's shown to be the strongest horse. You want just long momentum in this. But what I think right now is like, if you look at momentum divergences, if I'm ever trying to long a breakout instead of a pullback, I'm looking for sort of divs to form, and that sort of invalidates if I take a long in the middle of nowhere, like here. And this is pretty much a H4 RSI div forming on Ethereum here. So I do think we probably do see a pullback before we run into all-time high. might be famous last words. Also seeing a stochastic on the ceiling ready to reset. So maybe we do get that pullback, later today, maybe an NY session. But yeah, even if we don't pull back, what I'd look for is some sort of break above all-time high. Maybe we have a bit of a sell-off, but if we start consolidating up here and just doing effectively what we did in this range here, I think this is where you could effectively long with a new invalidation of closing back under all-time high. And then if it starts to close back under, finds acceptance under, maybe it starts to trend down again. So kind of no man's land here for me. But yeah, in terms of betas, I think Link looks amazing. Obviously, that has been a very, very strong coin of late. I would very much like to get a spot position down at the quarterly level and the weekly demand. Go to the quarterly. Oops.
I did a video on this yesterday. I don't know if we're going down to the weekly. Unfortunately, it looks pretty strong, but maybe. I mean, you never know.
Yeah, no, I don't think we do. But if we do get some sort of flush, that's where I'd absolutely pick up spot. This is like the 3-month chart, right? So this is a very bullish break above this level. Obviously, we need some time to close above it to actually lock that in. But in terms of where it is, really nice weekly demand there. We also have this FEG that will confirm after the weekly close. But just what I'm looking at for now, I think if ETH has any sort of pullback, yeah, I'd probably look at this this daily demand down here. And it also lines up the H4 noodle. So this is sort of where I'll take an intraday swing, intra-week swing type thing. And if we get down to that quarterly level around $20, I'll probably start scaling it from 20 down if we get there, which I don't think we will. Then that's where I'd pick up spot, because I just think this has a lot of room to run. Just with the narratives behind it and everything, and also just the chart looks, mega bullish on clearing that level. Now, obviously, right now we're going into a weekly supply level and seeing a bit of a rejection there. This is obviously going to take a bit to fight through, but if we can get above that, I think sky's the limit on this. Maybe we run up to, give or take $27, $28 and run this high here, and then sort of play it by ear from there.
I guess the thing is with Link, I discussed this yesterday. There are just so many corporation chains launching, so many new L1s coming into the space, so much proliferation of stablecoin growth, RWA growth, that it just becomes a very natural beneficiary, and it has narrative alignment there because it's the number one coin in the market's eye that's a pick and shovel that's benefiting from this growth. Because as I mentioned in yesterday's show, all RWA, all any price on chain actually in any application needs an oracle. So Chainlink basically has the monopoly. I mean, I know there are competitors, but it's 84% of Ethereum's total data is on Chainlink. So if you think all these new chains are gonna continue growing with obviously the big push that tokenization's getting, then Link is just an obvious bet. And that was basically my thesis, a couple of days ago, to add a bigger position. Obviously, it's been a great start with the move that we're seeing now. And yeah, the chart looks good. Just like anything, look to bid pullbacks. It's a pretty similar story to Ethereum. But yeah, what are you seeing on ENA? This has been a pretty strong coin. I've been saying to wait for pullbacks in my recent shows, but is that going to happen?
Yeah. I took a position on this when it cleared the range EQ and it broke out this diagonal. We had the noodle confluence as well, so it's an A+ setup for me. I took a bit of profit into the supply level at 84. And then I'm looking to take the rest into $1. So obviously front run that level a bit. Obviously we're going to see some sort of, selling at that level. But, it's such a strong looking chart. In terms of pullbacks, yeah, I think you just want to see the H4 noodle hold and just really sort of switch off your brain with that one. The other sort of thing I'm watching for is if we get this breakout. So we're getting this nice diagonal form here. If we get a pop above that and sort of an H4 close above it, then I probably look to compound that and sort of add to the position that I want to, TP at $1. But for now, yeah, it's just consolidating. And I think people will, I'm already seeing it in the group today, people sort of looking further down the risk curve now, thinking the run's done. I don't think the run's done at all. Just needs some time to cool off. We just look at ENA for what it is. Let's clear all this for a sec. Just gave us this nice bullish retest of the daily noodle and just shot up.
Yeah.
Obviously, if it does chop for a while, we want to see some sort of pullback into the daily noodle again. But I think the H4 has been a pretty good barometer so far. So we're seeing that support now. We're sort of front run it again on this wick here. But yeah, just two scenarios. Pull back into that and sort of bounce. Looks good. And if we break out of that diagonal with some force, then that's another position I'd take. So I think there's sort of two scenarios always, like we always say on this show. You want to plan for the breakout, you want to plan for the pullback. Yeah, I've had a good run.
520 on your first one. I mean, I also had a good one on spot. I had a 2x. No, actually not quite. Maybe like 1.8x on spots. That was pretty good. But you also had a good pump trade. Are we going to chat about pump today or just?
Yeah, I got pump on the list. Yep.
Yeah, we'll chat about pump later. You had a banger setup there. That's probably one of your best setups, of the last couple of months. So you've been cooking, and actually, I think we're only going to run this for a couple of days, but I'm running a promo for Mars High Club at the moment. So if you want to join and get all of the latest charts setups from not just me, but all of the other amazing analysts, we have Surf now, Morin, obviously Doc, Fabi, and myself. We're actually running a 10-day money back guarantee. So if people join and for some reason they don't like it, I think they'll like it. But if for some reason you don't, you can actually get a refund and get your money back. So it's risk-free now. But we'll probably only run that for a couple of days more. So if you have been on the fence, now would be a good time to come and join and check out the group.
Yeah, for sure. I'm back at my desk now too. That past week of trading has just all been off my phone, so it's been
impressive.
A war of attrition.
Yeah, that's
been a war of attrition, but now I'm locked in again. I feel better.
Yeah, it's always better.
You don't realize how dependent you are on your computer until you're away from it. Hey, it's kind of sad, but
when I was in Maldives, my whole business was falling apart, and now I'm back, and it seems to be running again. So,
yeah. I'm missing not having on my trading terminal and multiple monitors. But yeah, a couple more weeks here, then be back home. But moving on. I think CRV is probably my favorite chart at the moment. I had a swing trade in it the other day, which I got stopped at entry because I was flying, so I just thought I better play it safe. But I've taken a spot position again this morning just for a swing, not like a multi-month hold type thing. I just want to get a swing from this quarterly level up to the monthly. It's like a 40% move. And I just think, it looks super constructive. It's holding the daily noodle really well. So grinding up it. It sort of deviated under this quarterly level, reclaimed it, gave it a nice retest in line with daily noodle. Now pushing up. The H4 also looks really good. I just want to see some of these highs taken out, but ultimately I want to see around like $1.30 taken out for CRV. And we know this thing like prints when it starts to move. Like this was a gargantuan move off the lows. Obviously it needs some time to consolidate after that, but now it's sort of reset momentum, retested this. I think all the momentum also is reset when it had that move down to the daily noodle. So now once we get that proved as a deviation and that reclaim, this retest just looks super strong. So another one added a bit of spot. I'm looking to compound that if we pull back. So if we get into a pullback into the H4 noodle and there's a nice H4 FEG down here, I will add to that position. But yeah, I think CRV looks really good. We should move on to Sol because I think Sol obviously, the RR for, like I said earlier, the RR for long ETH so close to all-time high might not be there, but you go to something like the Sol chart and there's like still a lot of room to go. So this is a monthly level here. You can see we're compressing into it currently. Obviously had a rejection off it first. If I zoom in a bit, you can see how strong this level is historically, right? All the way back to 2021 where we had this move up, then we had a rejection off it. We came back in 2024, we rejected off it again, blasted through it, came down, sort of deviated under it, pushed up. So right now, I think this is a very strong looking coin just based on that. Now, we haven't yet cleared that level, but you can obviously see the bid sort of being front run into a lot of Sol ecosystem stuff. So I think Sol looks phenomenal. And when you chart it against like BTC and ETH, it just looks really strong, which we'll get to in a sec. In terms of things I'm looking for right now, had that deviation under the daily noodle, push back above, reclaim that daily level. Now I'm just looking for some sort of continuation play. So I think this H4 FEG is quite good. I was maybe seeing divergences on this when they load. Yeah, so not so much a divergence yet on RSI, but momentum is sort of starting to wane. Once again, it's just that two-part strategy. If we get above the monthly level and consolidate, I will look to take some position there. So we'll get some sort of, range consolidation. I'll look for an SFP of that into the noodle and just take a position on it. Otherwise, I want to see a pullback into the H4 FEG, which is supported by the H4 noodle. I think that'll make for a very nice long entry to front run this monthly level breakout. So when we go to Sol versus BTC, I think the weekly chart just looks phenomenal. Once again, under resistance, but if you just look at this for what it is, I'm pretty much going to treat this as a deviation. Now, obviously, we have the weekly noodle here plus the weekly level, so there will be some resistance here. You can see the first time we did attack that, we rejected off it. Second time we attacked it, we rejected off it. This is looking a bit stronger because after we rejected off it the first time, we made a new low. Rejected off the second time, we made a new high low, and that's on the weekly chart. So, something to pay attention to. So if we get up here and flip this, I think this will make a very nice move. Also, there's not really much in terms of resistance up until around here. So I think, this is a weekly chart, as I was saying. This is a big move between these 2 points. So we can get that, we get that clearance there. I'll definitely be looking to rotate a lot more into the Sol Eco. I think Sol ETH as well. Obviously looks not great on the high time frame, but this is a weekly level. We just retested it. Nice bullish pin bar candle there. Now, when we look at the H4, we have been capped by the H4 noodle since we rejected off the daily up here. I think quite a few shows ago, we were talking about potentially this being a deviation, getting back above this weekly level and seeing a lot of that ETH money rotate into Sol. Rejected off the daily noodle and just had a really sort of garish sell-off on the pair. But we look at the H4, that's also been capping price the whole way down. Potentially, after tagging into this weekly level, we might be seeing some sort of reclaim here. So it's too early to tell. Might need a day or two to see how this pans out. But if this really starts to push above, this kind of reminds me of the ETH BTC chart on the weekly. I think this will make for that obvious rotation. And I actually missed the ETH BTC chart before. We should go over that because that's something we discussed on the past few shows. This is a phenomenal move. This is really something noteworthy. So this is the high volume node, the highest volume node for the chart. The data set goes back to 2015. Obviously on this, every sort of attempt at this level, people are like, right, this is where alt season starts. And the weekly noodle just capped price the entire way down for years, right? Ever since 2022, it's been capping price. You can see here, we pretty much cleared it with like no qualms whatsoever. We consolidated above it inside this value area, inside this high volume node. And we just pushed above that. Now we found acceptance above both. So this is definitely worth paying attention to. The next obvious resistance up isn't really until, I don't know, I wouldn't even call that the obvious resistance. Probably say it's in here somewhere where this high volume node starts. That's a big move up from here. It's like 30% on the ETH BTC chart. So I know I was saying ETH might not be the best to long right here, but if ETH gets above that high time frame level, this chart should really cook, and we'll see. But yeah, the important thing is to just pay attention because this is something it hasn't done for years and years now, and now it's finally cleared it with a fair bit of gusto.
I think the number one thing as well that also has confluence with the chart is also like the fundamental valuation. Like if you look at Bitcoin's run from its prior all-time high at 69K to the current all-time high at 122K, ETH is still lagging behind significantly. So for ETH to get up to Bitcoin's run relative to the 2021 high, it would need to do a 1.77x, which would bring price to $8,634. So that's just to get to where Bitcoin is currently based on the ratio between Bitcoin and ETH from last cycle's high. So the ratio was 35% for the prior two cycles. So ETH was 35% of Bitcoin in 2021. It was 35% of Bitcoin in 2017. And now it finds itself back in the mid-20s. So if it were to play catch up, which it is doing now, and you can see that on the chart, that's your price target. So that's why it's, from a high time frame perspective, let's definitely like zoom out. And I think that also makes your $4,800 like ETH setup that we discussed earlier even more interesting. If people are, if you're just looking for a big like breakout trade for the next leg, if you're just a little patient, I think you can play this in two ways. One, wait for a sweep, capitalize on that, get on the trend. Two, wait for a breakout consolidation, and then maybe you'll be able to play 4,800 to 8,800. Obviously, if that happens, alts will go absolutely crazy. So, you'll also print on multiple verticals. If you're in the group, you'll be probably getting setups left, right, and center and making money every day. But irrespective of that, there's still money to be made on ETH in that scenario.
Yeah. 8K was my target. I got a long on spot at 2,100 when it tagged the quarterly VWAP. It was a monthly, I can't remember. But I TP'd it all at 4K, which I'm sort of regretting now. But any sort of meaningful pullback, I'll definitely be adding quite big back in that spot position or some sort of clearance above the all-time high. Yeah, I think 8K is a sort of target a lot of people are having at the moment. So if we get up to 8K ETH, yeah, you probably get your alt season, I would say. So a lot of the memes, they do just do that thing where they just come out of nowhere and surprise you. But I think a lot of them, I was checking this morning, heaps of them are being capped by the 4-hour and daily noodles at the moment. So I'm sort of playing ones that are showing more sort of structural build-up. Ray is definitely one that I'm watching. I added some to a position this morning just because of this monthly level. So the monthly chart for Ray looks really good. And obviously it has that sort of beneficiary effect of like, if all the eco starts kicking off, then obviously everyone's, the DEXs win, like Dupe and Ray and whatnot. I think Ray looks better as a chart than Dupe does. We're starting to see this break above this monthly level. Weekly, looks very constructive. We've got a high low here, potentially looking to make a high, a second high low. And this sort of bullish pin bar is looking really good. Obviously, we need a few days for that to close. So yeah, took a bit of a position on it, looking for any pullbacks into that monthly level to add to it. And then, there's pretty much thin air. So we've got a nice gap from these two levels on the VRVP. So you can see this obvious gap in the VRVP here. I'm just looking for a swing on this, maybe a 40% move up into the high volume node there. But yeah, I think, always when this stuff kicks off and on-chain kicks off, you obviously want to look at Ray and Dupe and whatnot. Just looks like the better trade to me right now. Altcoin, usually pretty annoying to trade, but it looks interesting at the moment. So this very clean line in the sand daily level here, we had this big deviation below it. Once we started to close back up and close the daily above that, I started paying attention again.
It's an annoying coin to trade, though. I find it extremely annoying.
It is. It is an annoying coin to trade. Unless it's in a parabolic uptrend, then it's pretty easy. As you can see, like the daily noodle, it was just such an easy run up to just long any noodle retest on it. Now, obviously, chopping through it, but we start. Yeah. So even if we start reclaiming the daily noodle here, you can't really pay it any credence until it starts a proper uptrend. But I do like it at the moment on this current move, obviously getting a bit clipped at the supply up here. We pull back into this H4 breaker that lines up with the H4 noodle. I'm going to look to take some sort of position for a swing, maybe up into this right here. So you can see the high volume node starting there up into supply. That would make for a decent, 33% move. I hold spot on this already, so I'm already looking to add to that. But yeah, I think for an intraday, intra-week style thing, I had a lot of strength on this move off the lows, right? So we obviously swept all these, just had this V reversal out. Your favorite sort of setup in that is these breaker plays. So whether we pull back to this breaker or we pull back to this one up here. So obviously we need a bit more clearance above this, but if we get that, shoot up and look for a pullback into that to target here. And then we'll do pump because you and I are both in this one. This is a super simple trade for my system. It was just an H4 noodle retest at the range high. I can obviously localize that range high a bit better to this wick. So I took a Pico low long into this when it SFP into it, which is really good. And I took some profit into the weekly level here because it's also a daily supply. But if you look at this daily chart, like this looks super bullish to me. So really nice retest range high, 3 daily candles pushing up, obviously going to find some resistance here. But I had a TP a bit higher, so my second TP around the mid of this. But I think if we start accepting above this level on the daily and consolidating in here, I think this can just rip up. So I'm just going to hold that a bit longer.
I also got a great...
I think you got an entry around the same point, yeah?
Yeah, I had it drawn differently, but I was just targeting this zone here and it wicked. This was my Discord post from, what was it, 9th of August. So wicked down here and then now it's back up to this.
That's spot on the same level.
Here.
Yeah, it's the range high.
Yeah, it's the same level, just I draw it more basic and you're better at TA, but I still draw my lines. And then I bid them. Pretty simple.
Yeah,
You've got all your indicators. I still need to add. You gave me a bunch of indicators to add. I started and then I got distracted. It's a whole week. I think it's a whole weekend actually to redo it all
and to learn them. Honestly, the crux of my entire system is just lines, right? We just look for lines that have confluence with the trending indicator, and that's the crux of my entire system. Then I just zoom down to lower time frames. And I look for the consolidations, the sweeps, the reclaims. Generally lining up with some sort of noodle retest, but it's like I've traded every style since 2017 through footprint, through order flow, through everything, EMAs, all of it. I've just reduced it all down now to support and resistance and a trending indicator. And my trading has never been better. So, nice. Yeah, it's just less mental capital gets expended, right? If you just sort of, because it's altcoins, it's not like BTC or ETH where you're trading against institutions now and stuff. It's just they're not trading your fart coins or your pumps or whatever. So it's just sort of
Do you
PvP
find you
and
get better
really simple
trades on alts or Bitcoin or ETH? Like, where do you find you have more of an edge? Like, do you find your setups get faked out a lot on Bitcoin and ETH? Or where do you have the most luck?
BTC and ETH. Yeah, BTC and ETH I trade differently. I'm all look for like liquidity sweeps and stuff. Altcoins is just, I'm much better altcoin trader. So if I had to class myself, I'd be an altcoin momentum trader. As soon as the momentum's there and you can see the bid, if it has like a whiff of narrative and it's respecting the trend and it's like breaking structure, it's just an easy setup 9 times out of 10. Less is more always for everything in life, in my opinion.
Good advice.
All right.
Sage advice.
Now, what time are we running here? 31. All right.
We're 30, so let's go quick because if you guys don't know, we have producers in the back end that are always shouting at us that we run too long. So, but it's hard because there's too much alpha, and this trade's very good. So, let's talk about it.
Yeah. Listen.
This is CHEX. I thought you meant Aptos. I thought you were showing Aptos. I still think this trade's good, but different trade.
I'll get to Aptos in a sec, but CHEX obviously had that link partnership, right? The chain link partnership. And yes, this chart, when you asked me about it, this chart when you asked me about it, this is just the old chart that I shared maybe like 5, 6, 7 streams ago. And it's just the same thing. This is all we're looking for is this level reclaim. So obviously got the big deviation below, had the partnership news, it's pumped up. It's now fighting with that resistance level. But we start clearing back inside this on CHEX, I think we can, sort of go for the range rotation up, especially if RWAs start to pump. So definitely worth having on the radar. I just thought it was worth having because of the partnership news.
I mean, and Chainlink's so hot right now, so it was the perfect time to announce it. I also know they've got more announcements coming. It's just funny. I want to make an observation, like how many people were freaking out at those lows, and we literally got on the stream. We said, and you actually said, no, these are probably the lows to bid. And in the Discord, everyone was like, should I de-risk here? I'm like, no. If you're going to de-risk on a bounce, but you probably should have done it on the last bounce. Even I de-risked on one of those bounces. I was, transparent with that in the Discord. But that was actually the time to bid. So just keep in mind, your psychology with these things, because I think a lot of people get shaken out, even though they're just like key liquidity grabs of key levels. Obviously, price action's been pretty bad. No one's denying that. But in terms of like capitulating at the lows, probably not the time to do it. Probably best to capitulate into resistance than support.
My advice has worked for years now. If you're ever feeling like capitulating at lows, go see if there's divergences forming on higher timeframes. So this was obviously like pretty garish price actions being capped by the noodle. But at the same time, this is a daily chart. We had a triple divergence on the daily on the awesome oscillator. We had not so much a divergence, not very clean, but you can see momentum was diverging and pushing up as price was pushing down on RSI. So if I ever talk to myself I might capitulate here at the lows, if you are doing that, just look at there are divergences, because the same thing was said on Altcoin. If I just go back to that very quickly. I remember preaching this divergence down here. So you can see price was just selling off. Everyone said Altcoin is done. But you can see on RSI, it was just upticking the whole time. On AO, it was just upticking the whole time. So AO is a slower momentum oscillator than RSI. But, when you see 3-day divergences form, these are actually 3 days from memory.
And just to dumb it down for the people, a divergence is when there's like a converse trend, right, on a momentum indicator like RSI versus price action. Like, so when RSI is going up but price action is going down, and vice versa, that's what you consider to be a divergence.
Yeah. So when you're seeing price basically do this, and then RSI is basically doing this at the same time, so that is divergence of momentum versus price. You don't even need to really lean into the science of it. You can simply just look for those to occur, and you can get these indicators that print the divergences for you. Many of them across TradingView. But this was a reason I started taking a spot position on Altcoin back here in March.
And why are these divergences so powerful? Like, what is it? What's the underlying cause of why a divergence should protect, let's say, capitulating at lows?
So when you're seeing them form on the 3-day, the daily, and the weekly, that's generally indicative, and what I've seen over the years, of a major trend shift about to happen. So you can see on this, as this one was printing, I actually thought it was a 3-day, it might have been a 2-day. It was printing across high timeframes, and once you start to see that break in price, so you can see here it was going down the whole time. If I go to line chart, makes it easier. You can see here it's printing down the whole time, whereas this is going up on the momentum oscillators. Now, it's hard to time these because obviously it's a daily chart, and you can keep getting into them. You can get into a standard divergence, a 2-peak divergence, then it becomes a triple div and you're just getting stopped out. But the thing with divergences is you might get stopped out a few times, but you generally want to keep going for it. So a triple div obviously will sweep you out on a 2-peak divergence form. But you can see once the structure starts to shift, and obviously if you go down to lower timeframes, to zoom right back on this. So you can see once we're here, we're going under the 4-hour trend, then we start to reclaim the 4-hour trend here, and then we push up and we have a second retest. So this is sort of your risk entry on the first retest, and this is your confirmation entry on the second. So this would have been like a perfectly decent setup to take. But yeah, so that's what we're seeing on CHEX. So a decent reason not to de-risk there. And I think, yeah, just what we're saying. Don't immediately say price going down too much. I'm just going to capitulate here. You want to see momentum shifting. If it's not shifting, fair enough. But if it is, then maybe hold off a bit. All right. Now we're running out of time. We'll get into Aptos quickly. So this, I didn't realize Moran was watching this too in the group, but you're also watching it. I just think this is also showing some, very big divergences here on the 3-day or the weekly. Taking time to load. Anyway, there's dips forming there. What I was watching was basically all these stacked highs here. I think this will make a really nice liquidity grab if this starts to push up. Now, if these all start to get triggered, we could potentially see this run up to about $7. So I took a position on this morning just because of this daily pivot level here. So you can see it sort of lines up this high volume node. Once we started to close above that, obviously low time frame I was watching, but the daily level was where I was looking for the setup. And then when I went down to the hourly, pretty much getting my favorite setups, just that compression between the noodle and the level. So you can see it just squeezing between the two. And then, the right sort of market, these results to the upside. So I took a position on that break, and I just want to ride that up. I don't know where quite yet. I think I would really like to turn it to a swing, but I'll probably take a bit of profit beforehand. But I think even just like long in this level right now, up into this supply here, in the high volume node, marks it over here, that's still a really decent move between the two. It's like a nice, 11%. Even if you run the high up here, like a 16% move. So obviously showing a fair bit of force at the moment above that level, and we just want to see that hold. Your chart looks a bit different, but I really like yours from a high time frame spot accumulation perspective.
Yeah, my high time frame chart. I mean, it has the same idea, but I noticed obviously this is the key level we're looking at reclaiming, which is $5. And then you also have the 3-day noodle here, which it's kind of been pushing up into. And then you've got this diagonal level as well. So I think we have confluence between our setups here.
I think that's a really good spot level if that breaks. Also, that diagonal you've marked out is just all the untapped highs. So it's like a big liquidity sweep there if it can take them all out. Plus, just looking at that chart, that's a weekly. If we do start to reclaim key levels, this thing has a lot of upside in it, especially since seeing a lot of the boomer coins taking off, like ETC, LTC, XRP, all look really good. And I think maybe not enough attention is being paid to them. But, this obviously fits in the same basket, and this is effectively down bad if you're just looking at a general chart.
I noticed Moran's also talking about Arbitrum. I don't know if you also have this on your list, but this is a similar setup. This is on the daily. Good. And this is, maybe add that to your list as well. I just noticed. Yeah,
I think he's talking about OP as well. So I'm also going to look at that after he was messaging it to me before. So that's a beautiful setup there. That sort of rounded bottom. He doesn't use a noodle, but I imagine there's some nice confidence with the noodle there too.
Moran's I've been really impressed. Yeah, I've been really impressed. He had a huge Bitcoin trade, caught the lows perfectly in the group. And this was with size as well. This wasn't just like a little trade that he just mentioned fleetingly. This was like a high conviction one. So, and I think that matters. And then he's posting this as well. This is an AVAX setup, Arbitrum. I think his swing trade style is, this market's really going to favor him if we see this like popcorn market of like alts starting to, break out and follow Ethereum's lead. So yeah, obviously if you join the group, you'll also get advantage to his trading. And he also does mentorships, just like Paradise does the live sessions. Sometimes they're very long, which people love. But Moran has one today at 4 p.m. He has one every week. Doc has one at 8 p.m. Moran actually does two. I didn't even realize that we had the second one there. Saturday. Yeah. And then you have one. Fabian has one. I have one. So we're also stacked for like Q&As. And that's actually the time we can ask us questions directly. So that's a benefit of being in the group as well. You can learn off it.
They're nicely engaged sessions. People usually write down questions that they want to answer, and we just go over everything. So I usually run for 2 hours.
There's so many, bro. Yesterday, I was like, all right, I'm going to keep it under an hour because I had a commitment. And then I was getting so many questions. I was like there for an hour and a half, and every time I'd answer something, there'd be 3 more. So I couldn't speak quick enough to like answer the questions that were rolling in. We try our best.
I believe you wanted to look at PINLINK, and this is the old chart that I drew on one of our old streams. So it's just working out pretty well so far. So I didn't really do anything to it. Not something I have on my radar. I haven't been watching it, but actually the chart looks pretty good. It is in a big range. We had that deviation, the reclaim. Retested the daily noodle, had a nice push up. Now we've just dumped back down into this POC, which we marked out a few weeks ago, and a really strong reaction off that. So once again, I just think once we get above that range high, this thing will send because there's just no resistance up here. Indicative by the volume profile over here as well.
I'll also show you how I've got it. So this is like this, this orange area here is your key support level, and then there's also kind of this diagonal trend as well. Obviously doesn't have as much confluence as that range high. As much efficacy as a range high breakout, but it is interesting. And the other thing as well is, this daily level was like a constant level of resistance, couldn't get above it. It's finally gotten back above. You had the sweep, and now, you've had a retest and a very strong reaction. So I like the price action. And the other thing is fundamentally, they've got some good stuff coming, and their RWA, AI RWA. Obviously, they have their RWA marketplace for GPUs. GPUs are, obviously needed for AI infrastructure. So anyone can kind of upload their spare GPU power. Companies can also do it in order to earn, and people can tap into it to, power AI models, etc. So in terms of narrative, I think there's confluence there between RWA being hot and AI could be hot at some point. Obviously, RWA is hotter right now. But just thought it was worth pointing out at the end. I noticed that setup.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, we're seeing a bunch of the RWA stuff pop off. CPOOL was looking really good the other day. Obviously, the CHEX.
I got to show CPOOL. Thanks for reminding me. This is fucking fire. And I just got demonetized. It should be right. This is so fire. I called this in the group here. So like 14, I said I was loading up. This just broke out of a key level like this. I don't know if you're seeing it similar to me, but like this was the resistance level. Multiple, attempts to get above, couldn't get above, rejected, kept sweeping the lows. Finally, you have a range high breakout, and I'd love to see your chart because I don't know, like how much resistance is there now. This can reprice higher again.
Yeah, I haven't charted this for a while, but I obviously have charted at some point. We're broken out of a monthly level, right? We're above the weekly noodle. Like this looks amazing. Obviously, that retest was textbook as well. So we obviously pushed up in the range high, got rejected, had this perfect sweep into this weekly demand level, and then was pushed up since then. Now above this range high, this thing looks amazing. And, this is not much resistance on the way up. Maybe there's overhead supply for people selling, but in terms of like structural zones, maybe we see some sort of resistance in here, like these two parts, but it's still got a ways until we get up to that. So, yeah, in terms of RWA plays, CPOOL's always been my favorite because I had a big spot bag of it that grew my account massively back in like 2023. Obviously sold a lot of that. But I think in terms of trading, I always really like trading CPOOL. Now we've broken out of the range high. This makes for a much nicer momentum setup. So getting sort of pull back into the range high. If we get so gifted, I'll be taking position on that, targeting here and then potentially higher, turn it to a swing.
And I think the other interesting thing as well is that they're not just RWA now. They also have a PayFi solution. So they're tapping into the liquidity, obviously, in that stablecoin market and narrative, which has been really hot. So, yeah, I think that's one of the catalysts. The other thing is, this is a very small thing, but Becca really likes CPOOL, mentions it in a lot of his videos.
Sure.
And in a retail market with a lot of retail coming back, like if people watch these channels, they watch Banter, they watch Becca, they watch Elio, they watch me. Like, so the coins these guys are speaking about, they actually matter in terms of narrative. So as long as Becca keeps mentioning it as his top or one of his top RWA plays, it's probably going to do well. I mean, that's kind of the really left curve thesis here. But yeah, I'm just glad we got I got people on the train, Discord and YouTube in that mid range at 14 to 16. If you didn't get an entry, maybe you could look at a pullback or some sort of. We talk about once you get a high time frame breakout, you can look for like that, like rally-based rally kind of setup. So maybe on the hourly, 4 hourly, we range, and then you'll get an entry there. But just keep your eye on it.
Yeah, it's always like, in the ranging periods, if you're committed to the coin, this is where you're buying spot. But on the breakout, that's when you start taking your perp swings and stuff, or spot swings, depending on how you play it. Now we've got that breakout. This is where you sort of look for the setup. And I haven't actually had it on my daily watch list, so I'll add it back now. But, it had this really nice 4-hour retest before breakout of the noodle. Any sort of consolidation up here that pulls back into that, or even the H1, yeah, I'll be hunting something on it. Also, what you were saying before about the narrative and that, yeah, obviously the best setups are always when the narrative and the structure align. So now we've had that breakout, any further sort of narrative to it's just going to make this a trade that rips. Still low market cap too, right? Like I remember this thing descending back in the day.
Yeah, like 200 mil.
This was such an amazing run up. Yeah.
That was so good. Hopefully we get something like this again. I mean, honestly, the setup for RWA has never been stronger. It's way stronger than it was in 2023 because of the stable, not just the whole stablecoin Genius Act thing, but also the TVL is now starting to reflect the regulation. So if you look at RWA on DeFi Llama, it's I think over 15 billion now, which is the highest highest it's ever been. So this trend is now, I mean, look at this, it just keeps going up only. And even if you go, and I was talking about RWA in 2022 and 2023, and even if you go onto like this year, you can see it's just up and up and up. So the more liquidity that's in the ecosystem, the more liquidity that can go into the pools across all of these protocols like ONDO, CPOOL, etc. So it's a good thing for the ecosystem overall, and I think that's why the fundamentals are also driving these moves across Link, across CPOOL, across these RWA coins.
Yeah, I think ONDO is the only one I'm not that interested in at the moment, but
just a high valuation. I mean, ONDO is one of my best trades ever, so I'll always have an allegiance there in terms of my personal emotional bias, but it's a very high val. Although, interestingly, it does look quite good. But anyway, I think we got to wrap up. So
yeah, we better.
We're going to start everything, but it actually does look quite good. Put it on your list. It does look good. Ironically, but all RWA looks good.
Nice. So, all right, better wrap it up. We're going to get scolded by Dad.
Yeah. Well, if you guys want more, join the Mars High Club. Link below. We're doing the money back guarantee, so you can apply for a refund anytime within 10 days of joining. You won't need it. Trades are amazing in there, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Good to have you on again, Paradise.
Thank you. Peace.